Bonjour, bonjour. It is Sunday, October 27th. We turned our clocks back today, and I was so happy to see the sun. Well, we don't have much of a sun today, but to see light in the sky at 7:15 in the morning, although your body clocks doesn't adjust so well to it. But it's so nice to have light in the morning again. It's going to be a different story in the evening, but at least I could get out bright and early like this to come and check on Notre-Dame and see how she's doing and give you a little update for today when we are less than 45 days out. So here's how she's looking. In the last week, they have done a ton of work here in front, which is where most of the focus is right now, is across the front. They're having to completely relay the large stones in the front because for 5 years they had that temporary concrete and blacktop here. So they broke all that apart in the last month, and now they are reinstalling, and they're going to do it kind of in a new pattern. I really hope that they're not going to mess up with Point Zero, which is just kind of straight down. If you follow that line, it kind of separates the lighter and the darker cobblestones. It's right in through there, so I'm sure they won't mess that up. But I can't wait to be back to see that because it's been so long. But there has been so much work done in the cleanup, and every time I walk by, they're just taking out trucks and trucks of old concrete and scaffolding. More scaffolding is coming down. But today I also wanted to go over and give you some updates, because I get a lot of questions and messages asking about the opening. So everybody has heard that you are going to have a ticket to get in here. Be very, very careful, because for the last few months there's been some scam websites created selling tickets. The ticket will be free. The tickets will be up and available at the end of November, which in France probably means beginning of December, and you'll be able to get them, but only a few days out. So if you're coming, say in February, you want to make sure you could get in, you're gonna have to wait till February to get those tickets. But they say that there should not be a problem, that you will be able to get in, not to worry. If you are coming to the church just to pray, come to Mass, they'll have your own line for that. But they said, already warning you, that it might be a long line, and I'm not sure how they're going to control that. Also this week, it was announced by the Minister of Culture that they want to maybe charge. So they might create a €5 ticket price that people will have to pay to come into the church. And that money at the end of the year would be used to help restore other churches across France, which is a nice thought. But because it is a church, I'm on both sides. I don't think they should charge, because it is a church, and this is a church that does still do Mass and everything every single day. There is a Basilique Saint-Denis that's in the north of France. They do charge, but that's to visit the crypt and the statues of the former kings and queens, and that's kind of separated. And they don't do, every time I've been up there, there's been nothing going on in the church. So this church, they do Mass and prayer every single day, multiple times a day. So I kind of don't think that's something they should do, but also, or maybe just charge €1 or do suggested donations. I'd be more than happy to do that. I buy candles every time I go into a church to light for loved ones, but also to help keep that church going. But we'll see what happens. It'll be a fight with the government and the Catholic diocese. But the funny thing is that the Catholic diocese is getting upset about quite a few things. But guess who owns this church? The government. The government owns this church, not the Catholic diocese. So it's a, classic push-pull, church and state, all that fun stuff. But when it does open, there's going to be a new app, and that app is going to have 3 new focus kind of walking trails that you could do in the church. The entrance, as I've said before, will be now in the center. So the door of the Last Judgment is the center, the biggest one. The one on the right is where we used to enter, which was the door of Sainte Anne. You'll now go in the center door, the Judgment, and go to the north of the church and around and they come out the Synod Church, but they also are changing the way they're doing all of the chapels and the names of the chapels. So we'll have more information on that in the next couple weeks as well. But you can see how cleaned up it's getting in there, and it's so excited now in the last 2 or 3 weeks now that the fence is shorter and you could see in. And so it's pretty fantastic. But again, if you're going to come, just wait. There will be, I'll share the information on everything in my newsletter, on my website, on the podcast, on everything. I'll share all the information and the official link. Just be very careful. I already see companies, tour companies, major tour companies that are all over Europe trying to sell tours for that. And you can't, they are not going to allow groups over 10 people in until the summer of 2025. So be careful, be very careful what you read and what you see. And again, these days with what you believe. And make sure you are following me on my Instagram, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and my newsletter, because I will give you all of the official information as soon as it comes up. But let's go and check out around the side of the church and see what else has been done this week. A few little stragglers of leaves holding on here. There's some really exciting things coming up here in the next couple weeks as well in November. Some really great exhibits. They're going to have 2 exhibits at the Orsay opening up on the 5th that are drawing, a lot of drawings and art of Notre-Dame. They're going to be pretty small exhibits, so they're going to be up on the 5th floor, right past the Impressionists on your way to see the Gauguin rooms, and then on the lower level as well. So I'll have all of that information and I'll be checking it out as soon as it is here. And then also what's really exciting is at the Cluny Museum in mid-November, they have an exhibit that is going to be a lot of about those gentlemen up there, the kings of Judah, and those statues that were discovered, removed during the Revolution, and also a bunch of other things they found in the archaeological dig underneath the transept and pieces of the rood screen that they found, because the Notre-Dame did at one time have one, much like Saint-Étienne-du-Mont up on the hill. But here, check this out. Some good up close. The rose window. And then all of the kings. This was all, the front of it was cleaned a long time ago. 8-9 years ago. You know, I've always said that if you looked at her from the front, she looks like she's in pretty good shape. But we'll get past this garbage truck and I'll head down on the side. We'll see what else we can find. Here on the south side, not a lot has changed, but what they have been doing is adding the balustrade up at the very top. And when I came by here the other day with some clients, I was giving a Notre-Dame tour to my wonderful Boyd family, and they were dropping in the pieces up there. So they have been adding that, and on the other side where they have completed that, they've taken the scaffolding down. So that is what most of this scaffolding against the building is for. The rest of the scaffolding you see here is just a means to get them up and down. So there's a elevator in there as well as stairs, and that is what they're using that for. So I've had people send me comments that it still looks dirty and the scaffolding is everywhere. But on December 8th, as a reminder, it will be safe enough for us to enter, but it is not going to be done. So this is going to go down again another 4 or 5 years before the entire area is finished. So, and she's going to be so clean inside, you'll forget about it. I love these early mornings. It is going to be sad to see these great plaques going away. Hopefully they save some of these and they put them in. They do something with him, put him in the museum. As I mentioned last week, this furniture has returned into the church 2 weeks ago. And all of these bad boys, all these amazing paintings and sculptures will return, as well as the Notre-Dame, the statue of Our Lady that was next to the altar. She is going to return here in about 3 weeks. It just is so great too. See, it is Sunday, so they don't work on Sunday, of course. But I'm going to take us to the south side, over to view from the left bank, which is kind of the best view to see her from. But again, I love an early morning. So happy that it's finally light again. Earlier, let's check out the end. The sun also is lower, back to normal. We were supposed to have a really rainy weekend, but it hasn't really rained at all, which nobody's complaining about. I think the view of her from the south is the best, just because you could take it all in. The north is great too, but you're so close to it, it's really hard to really see much, but it is nice to be able to see close up. I always love this little spot right here because this is the spot I have a few pictures my grandpa took of a gentleman sitting here painting, and he bought the painting from him, and my grandpa took pictures of him. I think it was 77, and again in 82 the same man was here. So I always think about that when I come here. But I definitely see some scaffolding on. We'll get a little closer. And in the last 2 weeks, they've built that little portable units there with the red around the top, closer right up there above the edge of the water. So I'm hoping that means they're going to take all of these down, because then they're going to start to work on the back. So hopefully those all come down pretty soon, or at least maybe after the opening. And it also looks like maybe some more removed around here. Let's get a closer look. So the pieces they were adding in were just right here. You can see the balustrade going in and across. And a lot of that is newly carved. The other ones, because they were just, it was so close to the fire and where everything was happening, and the firefighters and the pieces coming off the roof, they were in pretty bad shape, so they had to carve all new ones, and they're just dropping them into place. They're just little sections, probably not much more than 3 or 4 feet wide, and they fly them in. And I'll put a little I took a little video the other day when I was down here of them dropping them into place, and I'll post a little video of that, so you can see. It's always fun to see them drop things in and put them in. I mean, when are we gonna? Hopefully, we will never see this again. Hopefully, this won't happen again. As I've also mentioned in past videos, the system going in will be it'll be a state-of-the-art cathedral when it reopens, because of the fire suppression, the extinguisher, a system that's actually going to suck in the air every single second of the day and test it, so they will know, have even the smallest little hint of something unusual happening. And it looks like the scaffolding now is off of the side of the transept there. That's come down a little, and that right there in the center has gone up, and that is going to be exactly where the statues go. So I'm hoping that this means they're going to start working on that open work, because you see that part right there. It's covered by tarps with the printed decoration of what it's going to look like. That's still raw wood. So they still need to cover that, and that they had to do that's one of the last things they could do once the rest of the roof is finished. And they'll have to put the scaffolding back up around it. So hopefully maybe they're getting close to that. I don't believe, at least I have not heard if the 16 statues of the evangelical and also the apostles will be back up or not, but we will see. And there's also a little work on just in front of the rose window. They've had this little kind of market set up here now for the last couple weeks. It's just all different little crafts from France. There's a cheese guy, there's a meat guy, some jewelry people. I'm not sure how long that's gonna go, but we are getting close in the next couple of weeks. Christmas decorations are already up in my neighborhood because they were taking down all of the banners from the Olympics just in my neighborhood. I keep seeing them everywhere else, but I think they just figured while they were up there, they might as well put up the Christmas lights to string across the street. So that's exciting. And they have announced that there is a Christmas little fair that they have over across on this side of the river on the left bank, really close to Shakespeare and Company. And that is normally a market that's shorter, usually closes Christmas Eve. And it's going to be extended a week. So if you're coming here at Christmas time, there you go. But there's going to be a lot of fun stuff in the city. And if you are coming, it has been crazy, bonkers tourist season right now when normally it is not. It's normally pretty quiet, but it has been summer level of tourism. So if you are coming in the next couple weeks or even the next year and you're coming, do not come if you've been here before and you think, oh, it's not that bad in February. Do not rest on that and think everything's going to be fine. If there's things you want to do, get a ticket as early as you can. Again, can't for Notre-Dame too early, but if there's things you want to do, or reach out to your favorite Paris historian and let her plan your trip for you. And I'll give you all of the tips and tricks and bits of my knowledge about everything to do in Paris and how to do it, the best way to do it, at the best times to avoid the rush. But one thing you could see over here is up on, right in front of that upper tiny rose window. They've also reinstalled the balustrade there, and you can see these huge, you can see all of the braces that are in place, kind of holding it together. And there's a good view of the balustrade, the new one that's been put in. And then a lot of the scaffolding is a lot shorter over here as well. You will, after December 8th, you will be able to walk up to the towers again as well. It used to be that you'd enter on the north side, and they've changed it, so you'll enter on the south tower and go up there. It's 422 steps for you adventurous walkers, but they've added 2 new landings in there so you could stop and take a little break along the way up. But I have still not done that, and I really need to because I have a picture of my grandma at the very top. So I'll see how many breaks you could take along the way. I have a tricky knee. So it's actually the coming down that's a little worse. But look at that. So after it opens, they're gonna do work on the flying buttresses and do a lot of, and also on the sacristy, you see this, the roof of the sacristy needs to be redone. So they're going to do work on all of that. And out of the 850 million euros that they received, they still have 150 million euros left over. But here you can see. So that scaffolding used to be a lot wider and higher. And that's coming down, as well as the exact opposite side of this. So let's go and check that out and see if we can see the clock.